My name's Mandy, I'm 53 and I'm from Pembrokeshire in South West Wales. Yeah, so I was diagnosed 4 years ago, just over 4 years ago. I went straight to a de novo diagnosis, which means that the cancer's already spread from the breast to other parts of the body. And for me specifically, that's in my spine. So actually I found my cancer by accident. At the time I had a lively 12-year-old who'd elbowed me to my chest. And after a few days it still hadn't sort of healed or was still very tender and sore. So I thought I'd go and get it checked. As I was somebody that checked my chest regularly, I thought it was important. So I did. And that's when they discovered that I actually did have 3 hidden lumps, but they'd only come about because of the swelling after I was elbowed. In hindsight, I had other symptoms, but because I have other conditions like fibromyalgia, that was disguised and I didn't realise what the symptoms were at the time. But now I'm aware of those. So the fatigue and the tiredness and the aching and things I now know are one of the symptoms of secondary breast cancer. I think there's a lot of misunderstandings of secondary breast cancer. I would say for the main one is curability. You know, I think people only get to see the campaigns where breast cancer is treatable and curable, but they don't actually know that it actually is a life sentence for people that have had that diagnosis of secondary breast cancer. I think people assume that you have your treatment and then you're fine. And obviously having to explain to people that that's not the case it is quite a lot. You have to do it constantly. I think also survivability, because I think people assume when you finally explain to them what secondary breast cancer is, they think, right, you're on your last legs and you're imminently going to pass away, because there's no information out there for people, so they're not aware of it. So I can tell people that I'm on treatment and they assume that treatment finishes and then I'll be passing away. So I have to explain that actually I'm on treatment for the rest of my life, until it stops working and the cancer spreads. I think things like terminology are really tricky. I don't think people understand the terminology of what secondary breast cancer is. I know I certainly didn't understand what it was. I'd only heard of stage 4 breast cancer. I didn't know that was the same as terminal, metastatic, stage 4, all of these terminologies. I think it's just confusing for people in the public. It's been a big change, the diagnosis, in lots of ways. I would say the main one is probably emotionally. Trying to come to terms with a diagnosis of secondary breast cancer is really challenging. I didn't ever used to be somebody that got stressed particularly or particularly anxious, but when you're diagnosed, it does change you for becoming more anxious. Things like waiting for results and scans, but just having the diagnosis itself and thinking about your long-term, you know, what expectancies of what you would want in life. You know, you have to reevaluate all those things and rethink them. Physically, I've changed a lot since my diagnosis. I look very different from how I did 4 years ago. You know, hair, eyebrows, eyelashes, none of those things have grown back as they were. My body's physically changed. My mobility's different. Treatment has caused me to have heart problems, thyroid problems. The menopause has caused lots of sort of side effects and symptoms that, you know, just make day-to-day living much harder. It's also changed things like the dynamics of relationships and friendships. It's changed how I live my day-to-day life. Financially, I've had to now give up work, which was really important to me. And I have 2 kids still living at home, so financially it's been really tricky. And that adds to the stress, which, you know, is the last thing you kind of need when you're going through this diagnosis. And I think kind of adapting how I would have done things in the past, there's less spontaneity of just being able to get up and go. I now have to plan things. I now have to think about rests and, you know, the fatigue that I get when travelling, or just a day-to-day having to do things like my shopping online so that I'm not on my feet too much. It's just, it's a lot. It changes a lot of things. It does impact. But also it does kind of make you think about things. It puts things into perspective. It makes you focus on the good things, the positive things that can come from having a diagnosis, which might sound a bit strange, but the friendships that I've built from the communities has been, you know, really amazing. I've met some fantastic people. It's made me think about what's really important for me and what is important for me and my family, and so that I can prioritise that and not stress too much about the things that I can't really control. I think initially I would get support, a support network around you, of people that you trust and people that you can go to for those moments that will happen when you're up and down and your emotions are all over the place. I think don't Google, which is something that we all do and have done, especially in the early days. But I think it's really important to focus on the stories that are really positive, that are out there, of people that are living with this disease for lots of years with really good quality of life. I think whenever you're going to appointments, have things written down, take a notebook, because I found that really helpful. And just be kind to yourself. It is a lot to go through. And I think it's really important to take time to look after yourself, but also don't just think you can't do things. Just think, well, how can I do that? But it's in a different way, maybe. You might just have to adapt things. But I think it's really important to keep doing things that are important to you, and just to keep those people around you that will keep you nurtured and safe and feel okay. The campaign initially, I was like, oh no, I can't do that. I'm not very confident when it comes to the physical changes that have happened since my diagnosis. And then I thought about it, and I'd known of other ladies that had taken part, and I just thought, actually, I need to stop looking at all the negatives that my body's been through and actually focus on, I'm still here. The treatment and the medication has been harsh, it has been brutal, but I'm still here, so I'm winning. So for me, that was a big part of doing the campaign, and being part of it. It wasn't something I'd ever thought I would do, and yes, it is makes you feel very vulnerable, and it does make you think about things clearly and sort of in a focused way when you're just standing there with the photographer. But I just think it's so important to have awareness for people to see things and to have something visual as well, because we can all read about things and think how awful that is, but actually pictures do say a lot. And I just thought it would be a really powerful thing to do, and I just wanted to be part of that. And because I trusted Make Seconds Count and the photographer, I just thought, yeah, I'm going to go for it and see how it goes.